Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of our SpeakOut series. I'm Rhiannon Wicks, and I'm the coordinator of the Bolt Foundation and the moderator for today's discussion, focusing on the professional roles in forming and engineering. The Bolt Foundation has a very simple but important mission: to inspire the next generation of construction professionals right here in the Greater Toronto Area. One way to do that is to ensure that young people have the information they need to choose a career that they are passionate about and can be successful in. This series facilitates the discussion on some of the in-demand careers in construction and how young people can get started. Our panel is made up of diverse industry professionals, including employers and senior staff, to provide useful insights into the education and training requirements, physical demands, what to expect day to day, and advancement opportunities within the specific construction career. I want to acknowledge and thank our series sponsor, RBC Future Launch, for their generous support of this important initiative to help close the information gap and get more youth interested in construction careers. Let's hear from our sponsors now.
Hi everyone, my name is Mark Beckles and I'm the Vice President of Social Impact and Innovation here at RBC. Today, youth are the most unemployed age group in Canada, with almost 800,000 young Canadians not currently in employment, education, or training. Canada's skilled tradespeople that have long been the backbone of our economy are more critical than ever, and so is solving this sector's main challenges: the underrepresentation of women and immigrants, the need to double down on digital training, and the ongoing stigmas around trades careers. And while these challenges are significant, so are the opportunities. Through the RBC Future Launch partnership with Bolt, we aim to ensure that you understand what opportunities are available in the skilled trades industry and how to get started in a career that you are passionate about. Because at RBC, we see a future in your future.
So today's discussion focuses on the field of forming and engineering and some of the career opportunities available. Let's take a look at what the forming crew does on a high-rise construction site.
Forming crew. It all starts with the layout. This is where the layout crew reads the construction drawings and lays out where the new walls and columns are to be built. Here you can see that the drawings are all accessed by using an iPad. By using measuring tapes and chalk lines, they mark precisely where the walls and columns are to be placed as a guide for the next crew. In this case, the layout crew has also marked the wall thickness and spray paint to help keep the work organized. Formwork is built and then reused again and again. Here you can see that the crane operator is carefully lowering the formwork for a concrete column down to the workers who are positioning it into place. The layout on many floors are what are called typical floors, allowing this formwork, previously used on the floor below, to be efficiently utilized again. Here, the formwork section for this wall is being hoisted and relocated to another spot on the floor to be used again. The crew guides it carefully into place. Once one side of the formwork is placed and secured where it needs to be, then the electrical and mechanical trades install their sleeves or embedded items. Next in is the crew to do the rebar installation, also known as the rod busters, though we'll cover that in more detail in just another minute. After the crew closes up the wall and column forms and pours the concrete, the forming for the next floor slab above is put into place. To do this, the formwork from the floor below is reused. It's brought up by the forming crew and the crane operator working together and put into place using this method called fly forming. The crew lowers the formwork below. Next, they carefully roll it out of the building. The crane then hoists a section of formwork like this one, called a table form, away from the building and up one floor. Once it's carefully positioned into place, the forming crew repeats the same process again and again until all of the table forms are brought up, getting ready to pour the next floor above.
So with that great visual of the work, let's meet our industry panel. So I'm going to start on my left, and this is Gordon, and I'll let him introduce himself.
My name is Gordon Graham, and I'm one of the owners of a mid-sized forming company. And my main role is I manage the operations in the office.
My name is Tabassum Karamat, and I perform the field engineering services, also known as layout.
My name is Dylan Cotton, and I'm a tow crane operator.
Awesome. So we have three different professions here today within the forming and engineering industries, and they're going to discuss a little bit more about what they do and how their day-to-day looks like, and give us a good overview of what these trades are like to work in. So we'll start with Gordon, and I have a question for you about what are some of the roles in the office that are common to the concrete forming industry?
Like any office, we have our typical accounting roles that take care of payables and receivables and invoicing and remittance to the union. But a few roles that are more unique to our industry would be estimating and project coordinating.
Awesome. So what does an estimator do?
An estimator is basically responsible to take a roll of drawings, which is actually not a roll anymore. It's usually all done digitally now. And their job is to extract the totals out of those drawings, the complete surface area of concrete that will be formed or finished, total volume of concrete in cubic meters for the job, and total tonnage of rebar. They also would look for other things like embedded items in stairwells or railings and things like that, number of stairs, because we usually supply precast stairs as well, and that basically would be their job.
Okay, so really just like sort of, everything that you need for this foundation of this building starts with an estimator.
Correct, yes.
Got it. Awesome. So I'm going to move down to Dylan over here. And Dylan, as you mentioned, he's a crane operator. So when I see large cranes on the top of a building, it could be you operating it. So what's that like, and what are the controls?
Well, the controls are located in the cabin. That's to the top of the crane.
Okay, awesome. So every morning, do you take an elevator to do your work, or how do you get up there?
Not necessarily. I climb the stairs, the ladders most of the way. That gives me the ideal opportunity to check for safety going up. So I check for loose bolts, stress cracks, or anything that might be out of sorts.
Okay, so you perform a workout every morning.
Oh, yes.
Once you get to work.
Yes.
As opposed to before, like a lot of people.
Yes.
Awesome. That's a lot. I don't know how you do that. So that's a great, a starting point for how a crane operator sort of starts their day, and
Yes.
how you...
We sit most of the day, so that gives us a little exercise to go up to.
Perfect. Tabassum, so you mentioned you do layout. What does that mean?
I take the drawings onto the site, and I convert the information from the drawing to the carpenters, and I lay out all the concrete members so they can get built on the right location and size.
Awesome. So we saw a little bit of that in the video where they were sort of using the chalk lines to show you
Exactly.
where things are. Is chalk lines common? You use spray paint, I think, as well.
Yeah,
and
very common.
Awesome. So we just sort of touched on that. So marking all the locations for the carpenters is a big part of your job, I guess.
Right.
Something that I learned starting all of this was that carpentry is actually part of the forming industry. Had no idea. So I learn a lot when I get to do these episodes. So I'm thrilled that we're able to share this with all of you as well. So Gordon, I'm going to come back to you.
Okay.
When I see a 35 or 40-story building, how long does it take an estimator to go through drawings and come up with the numbers?
Realistically, it would depend on the complexity of the building.
Okay.
The more typical floors, which they referred to in the video, which are floors that just repeat themselves,
Yeah.
obviously make it easier, because once you do one, you've got some freebies in there. Typically, it would be a 4 or 5 day project to do a complete takeoff of a project, 35 to 40 stories. And then there's probably about 5 more hours every month of maintaining those numbers, because there's constantly design changes that are coming out.
The fun part.
The fun part,
Yeah.
yeah.
We love it when things get thrown at you, sort of last minute. So you can imagine how
Usually last minute.
being an estimator, that would be difficult as you're designing an entire building and making sure you have enough concrete to pour it. So what type of training is required to be an estimator?
There are a lot of courses offered at the community colleges in quantity surveying. Also, in our industry, a lot of estimators come out of the field. They're guys that have done layout or worked with layout. The key to estimating is really understanding the blueprints.
Okay.
And once you understand the blueprints, the software that's used for takeoffs is fairly user-friendly. So the knowledge of the blueprints is the key.
Awesome. And blueprints are obviously still very important, even though they're not necessarily.
Even though they're not blueprints anymore,
Like-
yeah. The drawings are very important, yeah.
Awesome. Dylan, coming back to you. So, how did you get into crane operating, and what would inspire you to want to climb a crane and sit up there all day by yourself?
I started off, I'm from Trinidad, and I live very close to a quarry. And from the age of 5, I was always fascinated with heavy equipment. So eventually I got a job as a backhoe operator. Then I started mobile cranes, and then I got a job again as a tower crane operator. I migrated to Canada in 2007, and I've been operating tower cranes here ever since.
Amazing. So it doesn't scare you?
No.
Wow. Scares me. That's great. So are there a lot of jobs in crane operating, just out of curiosity? I know that Canada has, or Toronto, I think specifically, has a lot of cranes.
We are number 1 right now with the amount of cranes up
Okay.
per city. We have the number 1, but I would say because of the market right now, things have slowed down a little bit, but there are lots of jobs with crane operator.
Got it.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Tabassum, how would someone become a layout person, and what kind of training is required?
Most of the people, they come up in the industry, they actually start as a helper, and with the time they learn and get trained. And down the road, if they show the ability and the upper management, they actually give them the opportunity to get the lead on the project.
Awesome.
And yeah.
That's great. So it seems like it's more of a, more apprenticeship style where you're going to learn on site as opposed to in a classroom.
Right.
Do you need to, do you need to do any schooling for this before you become a helper?
If you are good in math and you are outdoor kind of person,
Okay.
and yeah, you can learn and you can advance.
Awesome. So what would a helper demonstrate a desire to advance, and what's something that the company is looking for in a helper?
Yeah, there are some courses available actually in unions also, and they can get trained also with us. And there's a few instruments to use, and mostly the drawings they can learn, and it's pretty simple.
Awesome.
Mostly, yeah.
Good. Like it gets more simple as you learn the job and you get comfortable and you're able to sort of, understand everything that needs to happen, right?
Right.
So I've heard this term of a total station. So can you tell me what a total station is?
It's an optical electronic instrument which actually use the collection of data through electronic distance meter, and it provides the points on the field, and it measures the angle, distances, and heights. So it's very commonly used instrument on the site.
Awesome. And is that something that you would train a helper how to use, or would they need to go to school for that?
We can train them pretty well, actually, because the practical we cannot provide them. But yes, there are some courses available in the unions. They can go and learn from the unions also.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
That's great. So it doesn't seem like it's overly hard to learn, as long as you're, willing to learn and understand sort of the mechanics behind it.
No, it's pretty simple, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can operate a average cell phone, it's as simple as that.
Okay. So I'm not going to even try to use it because I still struggle with my cell phone. So my kids help me. I couldn't even figure out how to turn it off the other day. So Dylan, what does an average day look like for you?
An average day for me, I start around 6 o'clock offloading rebars.
Okay.
And lumber, forms, and I do lots of other miscellaneous stuff for the other trades. Concrete-wise, I normally start concrete in the early afternoon and go until the job is completed. So an average day, the hours is around 9 to 10 hours for me.
Okay. And you start like 6 a.m. every morning?
6 a.m.
Monday to Friday?
Yeah.
Do you do weekends too, or
It depends on the job. If they call for it,
Okay.
we do work on weekends sometimes.
Okay. But mostly you try to stick to the Monday to Friday?
Monday to Friday.
Okay, good. But 9 or 10 hours, like that's a long day.
Yes, it's a long day. A tower crane operator, basically, he's the first person on site, and
Okay.
we just say the last person to leave most of the days.
Yeah, you're the eye in the sky.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, like, as being the eye in the sky, you must have good eyesight. So is that like, can you see everything from up there? Way up
Having
there?
good eyesight it's essential, but it's not. I would say it's not really. Like most crane operators, I would say they do wear glasses or contacts like myself.
Okay.
Most of the lift we do during the day, I can't see what I'm lifting. We call this working in the blind.
Okay.
Now, there are personnel assigned to work with us. We communicate with them via two-way radio. So they are trained in signaling the crane and also rigging the load safely. Some cranes are also outfitted with cameras at the tip of the boom and monitors in the cab. This makes it way easier for the operator.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine it would be hard to see because I mean I think we were talking earlier, but they had a crane that was like 300 feet in the air at at another project. So you can imagine how hard it is to actually see from that high up, right? It's like everything looks like this big. So Tabassum, what does an average day look like for you as a layout person?
In construction, mostly starts at 7, and it's 8 to 9 hours long. And the day we pour concrete, next day, me and my helper will start an hour earlier, so we can mark all those concrete elements. And as soon as the carpenter, they will start, and right away they can start building those elements. And the rest of the day, I mark the heights and lengths of the walls, and also I level the formwork for the next floor slab, and also mark the edges of the building and other concrete elements for the next floor.
Awesome. So you're working in like a sequence to like get set up for the next day and the next person. And
Right.
I know that's always really important in construction is making sure that things happen in a certain way so that the next person can start their job, right? Because you're relying on the person before you. And then Dylan will beat you to the site every morning to make sure that everybody's starting their jobs on time. He can see you. I'm gonna get exactly. So Gordon, I'm gonna come to you now. So you mentioned project coordinators that work in the office. So what are some of their duties?
Basically, a project coordinator is the liaison between the office and the site, the office and the clients with drawing submittals, and sometimes the office and the external engineering that we use. And their first role, I guess, or most important role is to make sure that the site is working with the most current drawings, updated drawings, because often drawings are updated to the office, but not to the site.
Got it. Important.
Another role is submitting our drawings to the client, because we have to generate formwork drawings. We have an engineer or engineers that will generate those drawings for us with the equipment we're going to use. And their job is to make sure that the client receives those drawings and they get the structural engineer for the project to review them. They're also, they work hand in hand with the sites doing submittals for various products. They will track inventories on the site. They will also make sure that the site, the quality control is decent. They'll visit the sites probably once a week and check on quality control, which is, again, another important role.
Wow.
And they grow a little bit in the roles and develop other responsibilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's a big job.
Yeah, it's a good,
Yeah.
important job. Yeah,
Yeah.
very important job.
We did an episode on project management, so you can probably find a little more information on project coordinator in there as well. But for anybody that missed that episode or isn't going to go watch it, what would someone have to require to become a project coordinator?
Again, there's community colleges that offer courses in project management. Coming out of the layout field, coming out of the site is another avenue that's commonly seen. Knowledge, someone who has knowledge of the site operations, and they come to the office with some basic knowledge of, say, Microsoft Excel and Word and maybe Bluebeam, which a lot of people are experiencing those programs and that software in high school.
Okay.
It's like PowerPoint and things like that.
Yeah.
Basically, that would provide them with enough skills to start in the position and grow from there.
Okay. So it's definitely one of the falls into that sort of professional / administrative role within construction.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that one seems like, yeah, a little bit more like schooling is important in order to be able to fully understand the job if you haven't had the on-site experience.
Yeah, schooling
Okay.
or some good mentoring.
Okay.
But you'd either come from the school or the site. You wouldn't just show up at an office.
Right, and say,
saying,
I'm gonna coordinate your project for you,
Right,
and no,
yeah.
I've never been on the site before.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, okay. So not me, I'm not gonna coordinate a project. Dylan, I'm gonna come to you, and so tower crane operator, I'm assuming it's a licensed profession, it's, so, what's the licensing structure like? What's the pay structure like?
Okay, the apprenticeship, basically it's around average 3,000 hours. It's
Okay.
done over a 2-year period. There's a in-class, 6 weeks in class after the first year, 3-week in class after the second one.
Okay.
And the pay structure goes as there's a first-year apprentice. They earn an average of, I think it's 20, yeah, it's 27.
Okay,
Sorry, let me just get the numbers correct here. It's 28.47
Okay.
for the first year. The second year, it's 42.37.
Wow.
And a full-fledged crane operator, they earn an average of 56.49 per hour.
that's a big jump from your first year to your third year, like almost double your pay. That's awesome. So that seems like it's worth it.
Yes, it is. Lots
Good.
of responsibility.
Yeah, well, clearly. You have to want responsibility to be a tower crane operator.
Yes.
Well, that's great though. So it would be a union job then.
Yes, it is.
So you're affiliated with a union.
Local 793.
Awesome. And that union is specific to like Toronto area, or is that sort of the Ontario union for the crane operators?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Awesome. And then, so now we're going to go over to Bassam here, because we've got to, understand sort of what the schooling is like for project coordinator and what you need to do to be a tower crane operator. So, what's the wage range for a layout person, and from the time they start to, being in a lead position? Because I know that there's
Yeah,
some
that
time
is
in there.
a 4-step process, and each step consists of 6 months. You'll start at 33.49 for first 6 months, and the second 6 months you will earn 37.35, and the third 6 months you will earn 41.20, and fourth 6 month you will earn 45.05. And after 2 years, you will have the ability to run your own project, and then you will earn the top rate of 48.90.
Wow. So is that something that's set out by a union as well, or is that set out by the company, or?
Yeah, union and the company as well.
Okay. Awesome.
Company can advance it if they feel like ability. They can advance it even ahead of the time.
So which union is?
There are most of the union like 183, local 183, local 27, and outside there are different unions. Those are main unions in Toronto, GTA.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. So then I'm gonna stick with, no, I'm gonna move over to Dylan, because I don't memorize anything apparently. So, Dylan, what would you say is the worst part of your job, and then what is the best part of your job?
I would start with the worst part. The worst part for me, it's working on a windy day or foggy day. It
Okay.
makes the job very difficult. And the best part for me is you work on a project from the bottom and you see before it rises to the top. That's the best for me. It actually drives my wife crazy when I drive around downtown and point out all the projects I've done. Yeah, she's be like, again?
I get it. See, like the worst part for me would be climbing every morning. Do you find it's like, because you're so high up, do you not find is it windier in general, or is it just there's days that are like particularly bad?
A little of both.
Okay.
So in general, I would say anything you have on the ground, put 10 clicks to the top.
Okay.
And generally when it's windy, it's windy.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no escaping it.
No.
We were teasing earlier that there's advancements to sort of this, when they're at the top of the crane, and it used to be a little bit less comfortable to sit in. Now it's like a mini condo. So I don't know if that's entirely true.
Oh, yes. We have all the amenities you could think about in the cab to make yourself comfortable. Because most of the time you spend 9, 10 hours in the crane. So you
Yeah.
have to make yourself comfortable for the day.
Oh, there you go. So we're not joking. It's very comfortable to be in the crane. Good to know. Yeah, exactly. You had to climb 300 feet first. Um, so, Gordon, what's the best part and what's the worst part about your job?
When I was in the field, I would say the worst part would be a weather-related, like Dylan, but me, it's the heat.
Okay.
I find the heat is, it's the worst because in cold weather, you can dress, you can put on layers. There's so much stuff made now, and you can buy like these, like, you know, very thin insulated outfits. But the heat, you can only do so much to get comfortable.
It's true.
And you can only drink so much cold water, you know.
Yeah.
A few days of extreme heat, by 3 days, you're really starting to feel it on your body.
Yeah, absolutely.
The best part, I would say, you know, one of the things for me, coming from the East Coast, was the diversity of our industry. Like, I've worked with people probably from in excess of 30 different countries.
Amazing.
You know, all different types of people, and those people come from all different walks of life in their countries. You know, there's very educated people, and there's people very good with their hands. So for me, that is one of the things I've really enjoyed. And another thing, after being in this industry for 37 years, don't let my youthful look fool you. You know, I've seen a lot of people that I remember the day they walked onto the site.
Amazing.
And now I see them running sites. I see them, you know, running the layout. I see them advanced, and they've achieved their operator's licenses. And for me, that's kind of rewarding to see people come with a vision and then see it come together for them.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You get to see the success stories.
Yeah, oh, plenty. I know so
Yeah.
many people that, you know, and most of the people from that, you know, we deal with, the union leaders, the salespeople, the general managers in the big construction companies, they all came from the field.
Yeah,
Like it's quite this, you know, see how it kind of grows.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like every day is a learning opportunity.
Oh, yes.
And
Yeah.
especially in this industry. And I find like, even though, you know, I'm obviously in the office side of it, but, you know, like I get to do episodes like this and I learn more than I ever could have imagined. And I'll still never know it all, you know, and I think that's the thing with most trades too, is that like you can be in that trade, for 20 years, but like it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
You know, the technology changes, you know, from blueprints to iPads, you know, so it's like there's always room to learn and grow and, you know, advance in your career.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving.
Yeah, awesome. Tabassum, what about you? What's your favorite and what's your least favorite?
I'll start with the least favorite, because I deal with most of the trades on the site, so sometimes the things get hectic.
Okay.
And other thing is, I'm constantly under pressure to be very precise, because my mistakes are very costly.
Right.
And the good things are, I can perform my work with the freedom, and I'm not micromanaged as well. And I like to be outside all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the best part, healthy environment.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds great. I love my job so much, and I wish there was like an outdoor office sometimes, because it's like I also love being outside, and so I think that's, you know, like such a perk of the construction industry is that you get to be outside with tons of people, and you can either choose to be really far from them or really close to them, and you know, so it's good for there's something for everybody in construction.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that's like something that we really try to focus on and let people know, is that there's like, whether you like to get your hands dirty or not, whether you want to do, you know, heavy lifting or not, there's something for you in construction. So there's lots of trades, 120 something.
We only consider.
I'm gonna let you know tomorrow. I don't remember. They only care about forming. I'm gonna. So Gordon, like, what would you say makes the concrete forming industry unique and worth looking into for younger people entering the workforce?
I would say, you actually just said it, it's an industry that there's something for everybody. You can, you know, the job could be completely physical, it could be completely academic, it can be, you know, stressful. Like, you can find opportunities, like crane operating is a very stressful position, it's very rewarding. So I would say, you know, it's hard to envision what's in the industry till you actually got into it and took a look. Like, you know, get on a site and you see what other people are doing. And that's what a lot of guys, what they're doing isn't what they came to do. You know, they saw something else and, oh, I want to do what he's doing or she's doing. So I would say it's an industry that really lends itself to mobility and opportunity. And like I said, a lot of people it's a gateway industry. Like once you're on the forming crew, like there's opportunities like in unions, in sales, in safety, and project management. There's a lot of avenues that you can take from there.
Wow. Who knew?
Yeah, who knew?
Yeah, I didn't realize how big this industry really is. You know, I think forming and I immediately think concrete and rebar. And I don't, you know, my mind doesn't expand past there until literally when I spoke with Gordon last and it was like, oh, hold on a minute.
Yeah, and if we're on a site and there's 60 employees or 60 workers building a building, we're probably 40 of those 60. We're
Right.
probably usually 65% of the workforce on the site will be in the forming industry in one aspect of it or another.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Dylan, would you recommend being a crane operator to people you know?
Oh, yes, I would. Once you're familiar with the crane at the aspect of the operations, there's other parts you could branch off, equally interesting parts that you could branch off to. There's the service area, and also there's climbing operations.
Wow. So again, like within the crane operating profession, there's still more within that.
Yes, there's
Okay.
the service aspect of it. The guys that come and service the crane, repair it, and there's also the climbing operations, the guys that erect, dismantle the crane.
Wow.
Yeah. So normally you would see a crane low down and you'll wonder how it get up to that height with the building.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's guys that comes in and they jack the crane.
Wow. See, like who knew? This is why we do this, because then I also get to learn. Tabassum, what would you recommend? Would you recommend a career in layout to friends and family?
Absolutely. This is a knowledge-based career, and it's one of the areas where knowledge-based work is performed outside in the healthy environment.
Awesome. I find that everybody I talk to within construction always is so passionate about their trade.
Right.
And they just have like the best possible things to say. So when I ask somebody, would you recommend your career? It's always a yes. Like, I don't think I've ever gotten a no, which is good. I mean, it just goes to show that it is like a really healthy industry to be in. And it's not without its challenges. Every industry has its challenges, but there's so much. And there's so much room to grow. And I think that's so important for people to understand.
Actually, in our own company, we have a couple of groups. Like there's one group of 4 brothers that work for us.
Okay.
A couple of groups of 3 brothers. So for a lot of these people, it is like a
Family business.
the oldest brother gets the next brother, gets
Yeah.
the next brother. So
Yeah.
I mean, it does. A lot of it's done like that.
Yeah, and
Passion breeds passion.
Totally. I hear that
Yeah.
a lot as well. And like, there's a glazier and he's like this, 4th generation. I guess it's not glazier anymore. It's a glass and metal technician. But, when it's something that you've watched, like essentially your whole life, because your father did it or your mother did it or your grandfather and you get to see them come home happy and you feel good, and then you drive downtown with them and they point out every single thing that they've ever done downtown Toronto with pride.
Yeah.
Right, and I think that's what it is. There's a lot of pride behind
Yeah,
working in construction. So Gordon, what would you say to anyone who wants to explore a career in concrete forming?
I guess the first thing is when you look at a construction site, especially while the cranes are up and concrete's being poured, it looks like a beehive of chaos.
Yeah.
And I guess in some ways it is, but to the people inside that, it's actually organized.
Yeah.
And, it's not that chaotic. But it's probably not advisable just to walk up to the gate and say, I'm looking for work. Because everybody in there is,
Busy.
time is so, there's such a strain on our time on the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything, this is late, this is early, this shouldn't be here yet, that shouldn't be here. So everybody's a little bit hyper tense.
Okay.
So they're not going to stop and, take down numbers and provide, good advice most of the time. But the unions go into all the high schools doing trade fairs, and social media, like all the big unions are on social media. Most companies in the business are on social media, so that'd be probably the best way to get information.
Awesome.
Just, Instagram, they're all on Instagram.
Yeah. Do your research.
Yeah.
If you look, and I see it all the time, right? I follow a lot of these, the big construction companies and the unions, and
Yeah.
I see, they're, the unions doing an intake this day, and then they're doing, a training on this day, and they really do encourage that they're spreading the information. You just need to look for it.
Yeah, and a lot of companies have websites that would have contact information.
Yep.
And someone who's, in a calmer environment in the office is more likely to give you the best response that
Got
you're
it.
going to get.
Yeah.
So a little bit of footwork probably won't hurt.
Yeah. Call Gordon on a good day.
Yeah.
And he'll help
Sunday.
you. Yeah. On a Sunday, there you go. Yeah. I don't even have his personal number, so don't.
Don't share that.
But I don't have it. That's great. I think that's amazing, and I think like I said, this the purpose of these episodes is to really just spread this information, and we have 2 construction classes in attendance right now at Westview Centennial. I have a soft spot for Westview Centennial, and their construction courses are phenomenal. And I think that there's a lot of passion, in these teachers, and they instill that into their students.
Yeah.
And then we get to share this information, and and they just get to keep it going. And I know that some of the tech teachers at Westview, and I'm sure other high schools as well, they are former union members. They they left their jobs to teach, to inspire this next generation, right? Which is like the whole purpose here, is to make sure that when our friends here decide that they would like to retire, then somebody needs to take over for them. So it's up to you to do that, so that there's people that are just as passionate and just as ready, and could enter these careers.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything that you'd like to share with our friends on the other end of the screen here? Any words of wisdom? Anything we didn't cover that you think is important to know?
Well, I think there's a mentality that we think, we don't have enough people to do the work. And recently there's a small downturn in the market, which is temporary, we all hope.
Yeah.
But a year and a half ago, you couldn't find even entry-level tradespeople.
Right.
So, anyone who's interested, like I would say, there's opportunity there.
Yeah.
And if you don't get it on the first door you knock, keep knocking,
Yeah.
because we do need people.
Absolutely. This is one of those industries that aren't going away. Forever there's going to be, homes that need to be built, and infrastructure that needs to be repaired. And, you think about construction ranges from residential to commercial and industrial. And, you think bridges and roads and, all of these things are within the construction industry, and they all need to be maintained, repaired, and built.
Yeah.
So it's not going anywhere. And of course, there's times that are really busy, and then times that slow down a little. And that's okay. That's life, right? But it doesn't mean that you stop trying. So if you're really passionate, just keep going.
Yeah, and construction is usually the last in part of the industry that will slow.
Right.
And the first that will fire up again. So
Yeah.
If you're in industries that are a little bit volatile, it's probably the least volatile of many industries.
Got it. Take your downtime when you have it and enjoy it, so that you're rested and ready for those upswings that are really intense and busy.
Yeah.
Plan your vacations accordingly. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for you today. So thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
We really appreciate it. If any questions came through email, I will be sure to get to those. And if there's anything I can't answer, I promise I will ask our team of professionals here, and we'll get you the answer that you've asked for. And until tomorrow, we're having another Speak Out tomorrow, also in the forming industry, but this one's going to focus on the trades specifically, and also supervisory roles within forming. So we won't be covering any engineering aspects tomorrow. So we hope to see you then.